The best way to create a legacy is through a book. That is why the leader in integral beauty, CEO and founder of Global Integral Beauty, Idalis Bailey, has designed the book Global Experts in Integral Beauty with the purpose of connecting professionals worldwide who inspire and transform the community of health, wellness, and aesthetic professionals. Through this bestseller book, you can reach millions of people, increase your brand's credibility and visibility. Position yourself as a global expert in holistic beauty by sharing your story and career path in your own chapter of the book, Global Holistic Beauty, 2nd edition.
Hello everyone, I'm so grateful to just have this opportunity to share in the conference today and participate in it, and also hear so many other amazing presentations. It sounds like the topics are really diverse, so that's something I really enjoy and look forward to, with Idalis' network, the Global Integral Beauty Network. So today I want to just share something that I feel passionate about and I find really interesting, which is the connection between health and wealth. And I just want to share some of my top tips about keeping those at the forefront of your mind, and just about looking after yourself and putting yourself in the best position in terms of both your health this year and your finances. So that's the main topic that I want to speak about today. So if you don't mind just going to my next slide, which I believe is just the title page, but it just also, I just want to be able to let you know a bit about me, that I am a urology surgeon in training in the UK. I am also launching my coaching practice. So I want to coach and work with women in particular from healthcare professions as well as other professional backgrounds who want to level up in terms of their health, their financial situation, or who want to pivot in any way or add a new string to their bow and do something in addition to their current practice. Next slide, please. So the aims of my presentation, as I've mentioned, is just get you thinking about how your financial fitness is looking, about your health from an all-round perspective, and about how both your health and your wealth are connected. And with that information, what you want to do next and how you want to improve both your health and your wealth. Next slide, please. So I feel the starting place for me is for us to define what health means for you. So there are so many definitions, and I'll run through them all really quickly. So the first being, if you don't mind taking me to the next slide, that is net worth. So that's something that a lot of us might be familiar with, that definition, which is essentially the total value of your assets minus the value of your liabilities. So that might be the value of properties, things like your house, car, etc. And then next, cash flow rate. So you can think of that as the amount of salary or income that you're generating on a monthly or annual basis minus your expenses. That could be another reflection of how wealthy you believe you are. Next slide, please. And then these are different ways of defining wealth, but another could be your net saved amount. So that could be the value that you have sitting, in your investments or a savings account. And that's a different way of perceiving your wealth. It's thinking about how easily could you afford to pay for an emergency or something that came up on a rainy day. Do you have savings set aside for that? How easily could you afford to retire, and thinking about your preparation for retirement? Next slide, please. The next definition of wealth, which might seem a bit alternative to you, but it's one that I quite like, is the concept of time abundance. Some people think about wealth only as a function or as an expression of the money that you have available. But you could also think of wealth as the amount of time you have available, the amount of freedom you have to do the things that are meaningful to you. So that's another way of perceiving wealth. And next slide, please. You could also think about your wealth as a reflection of how much you can afford to give away, what you can afford to give to the next generation, what you can afford to give away to charities, etc., and causes that you're passionate about. And finally, an alternative definition of wealth is your network. So on the next slide, please, that's like what we're doing today. Who are you connected to, whether that's professionally or in your family? Who are your friends? The quality of these relationships is another reflection of how well you're doing, how wealthy you are. If you had an emergency, do you have people that support you, who you can call and who can help? The quality of relationships and the quality of your connections and your networks and associations, that is another rich reflection of how well you're doing. Next slide. So the reason I've defined wealth in a lot of different ways is just to get you thinking, really. As you can already appreciate, I'm not a financial advisor. I am a medically trained, surgically trained doctor. So I'm not here to give you financial advice, but I do want to get you thinking and just to give you a little bit of a taste of what coaching is as well. So really, in considering all these different definitions of wealth, I want you to explore what your core values are. Which one of those definitions resonated with you? And that might tell you something about the values and ideals that you hold close to your heart. So I just want you to explore that for a moment. For me, one of my key or core values is freedom. So for me, because that is important to me, the definition of wealth as an abundance of your time, as an abundance of your free time, resonates with me. But what resonates with you? Next slide, please. As you just start thinking about how your financial fitness is, it might give you it might help you reflect a bit on your money habits and what your money tendencies are, whether you might tend to be a saver, a spender, how inclined you are towards investments and taking risks. Next slide. And it might help to just highlight for you what some of your beliefs are about money. Next slide. So this quadrant, image, I don't want to, overload you with an explanation about it if it's not something you're familiar with already. But I'll just briefly tell you that this is something from Robert Kiyosaki's book, Cash Flow Quadrant. So he really just breaks down 4 different generalization to break down 4 different ways of earning money. And when I read this book a couple of years ago, 1 or 2 years ago now, it really did get me thinking about how I'm doing in terms of my financial fitness and my cash flow and my plans and my goals for my finances, and thinking about how do I earn money, at that moment in time as a full-time employee of the public healthcare system. So I found myself in the employee category, in that top left quadrant. As hopefully you can see it in that quadrant, it's E, employee, where you have a job. and the concept of trading your time, your hours worked, for remuneration, for cash flow and return. And through his book, he helped to just consider all the alternative or additional strategies for earning income and revenue. And that was very enlightening for me. And it's a book I would definitely recommend to take away and read if you have the opportunity to, just to consider other ways that you may want to complement your main sources of salary or income. Next slide, please. So I just want to move on now just to consider how you would define your health and how you think about your health and what, and how you're investing in it so far. So in the first slide, I just want to touch on the most obvious part of your health, which is looking after your physical health. So that is the portion of health that I imagine most of our speakers will be discussing today. And I'm not going to be able to explore that in a lot of depth. But for me, as I've been wanting to work on that for myself much more recently, I've found so much. I feel like I've improved so much, but just by being more consistent with certain habits. Which I've really enjoyed. Starting classes like body pump. I didn't imagine myself lifting weights. Look at me. But just trying to push myself to run as well more, boost my physical health, please. Your mind and your spirit, and the importance of looking after your mental health as well. So again, I'm sure we'll have lots of amazing speakers coming up exploring psychology and how to look after your mental health.
Dr. Egho, the signal is not working good, so we can hear you. Dr. Egho?
Hello?
Yes.
Oh, so sorry that cut out. Thank you. So, thank you. You can hear me okay?
Yes,
All
now
right.
I can hear you again, yes.
Thank you. So, I was just exploring the importance and the intersection between your physical health as well as your mental health, and the importance of looking after that, considering that both in terms of your mind and your spirit, all of those aspects of your health. So if you don't mind going now 2 or 3 slides forward, just so we can also talk about, and then next another 2 please. So we're talking about physical, mind and spirit, and also the health of your relationships and your network. So this might seem like a very tangential or loose way of thinking about health, but I just want to explore some of the things that may not immediately come to mind when we consider our health, because how much can all of us testify about the impact that the pandemic and social isolation and social distancing had on health outcomes and people's well-being during the pandemic. It affected all of us. So it's really important to remember that as humans, we are tribal creatures, we are social creatures, and we're not meant to be alone. So just considering the health of your relationships is so important, particularly as many of us are healthcare professionals. We are in caring roles or roles affiliated to that. And many of us probably, may be focused on the well-being of our patients or clients and may not consider our own as often or as much. So it's super important just to consider your health, and also just be mindful about the ways that you want to take care of yourself, particularly in the generation that we're in, where so many things have gone digital, virtual, and unless you work maybe in a community or healthcare setting or in person, there's been a lot of breakdown of our connections with people. Next slide, please. So again, I don't think time will allow to break down this this story too much, but if you are already aware of the Aesop's fable, The Goose and the Golden Egg, I just wanted to highlight that fable almost as a bit of an analogy between the relationship between your health and your wealth, because your health is what I would describe as your production capability. The fact that you are well in yourself, in your mind, in your body, is what enables you to go to work, what enables you to be productive, and enables you to, those two things are intrinsically linked. And on the next slide, I just want to prompt you about considering how you're looking after or protecting both. Next slide, please. So, and by protecting both, I mean proactively in terms of looking, take activities and planning and activities to invest in your health, as well as a financial planning to protect and look after your finances. And again, I'm not a financial advisor, but some of the things that I've considered, particularly alongside owning my own residential property, is considering insurances that are relevant to me. So for other people, consider your whether you may want to take out life insurance, or critical illness insurance, income protection. Very often we leave these considerations until something goes wrong, or until there's a compromise in our health or our well-being, or that of our partners or family members. But it's important to be proactive about these things and to take out insurances or protection as needed. Next slide. So my top tips for you today, just a few to take away, is just for you to consider all of those aspects and those different ways of defining your wealth, and almost just considering which of those definitions align with you most. And then assess your health from all those three different perspectives. How's your physical health doing? How about your mental health and your spiritual health? And finally, how's the health of your network? So just do that self-assessment. And then secondly, I just want to encourage you to consider your why, what I would describe as your motivation or the driving force for you to want to improve in those certain areas. Because once you go beyond, maybe some of the first reasons that come up to you, just keep interrogating those reasons. Keep considering, okay, well, why is that important? Okay, well, why is that reason important? And go as deep as you can with that, what some people might describe as a 7 levels deep exercise of asking why again and again, until you really get to what the core motivation is for you to want improvement or want growth or change in any of those areas. And then finally, I would just recommend that you, this year, 2023, you do your best to invest in yourself. So invest in your health, invest in getting information and more resources to learn about your finances and investments. And if you need to, and if you want accountability, invest in a coach, someone like me who can help to, just cheerlead you on and motivate you and encourage you and walk that journey with you and give you some accountability. Next slide. And I imagine that's my last slide. Just to highlight a few resources, books or otherwise that I've read and that, have really just stimulated a lot of thought for me in these areas. So thank you so much for listening. That's everything I had to share there. And I just want to encourage you, if you would love to work together, collaborate in any way, or get in touch for any questions. My name is Egho Ireo, and you can find me on Instagram at Dr__Egho. Thank you.
Only here at Global Integral Beauty. Global Integral Beauty magazine specializes in developing current issues in the health, wellness, and aesthetics sector, with exclusive interviews, innovative treatments that lead the market, professional information, and the latest news from the world of integral beauty.